Okay, hi Liam. Thank you for joining me today. So, everybody, we've got Liam Henry here with us today. Liam took out the 2023 National Team Leader of the Year award for Auscontact. So, Liam, congratulations, firstly, and well done. Pretty major. I think the team leader is one of the most highly contested of all of the awards that we run. And it's a really great result to see you win that. So congratulations.
Thanks, Fran. And thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the time to come and have a chat today.
Yeah, fantastic opportunity for us to hear a little bit more about Liam Henry and how he operates, what you do, and what is it about the way you are leading that is actually making such a difference there at ANZ. So, Liam, to start with, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you got here. A team leader with ANZ. Give us a bit of a snapshot of your career journey so far.
Yeah, so my career journey has been contact center through and through since leaving school. I worked at a different contact center for another bank, and initially started part time, thinking that that would be just a bit of a side job, but really fell in love with what I was doing, helping customers, a lot of problem solving, learning the art of conversation as well. It wasn't a part-time job. It probably was part-time for about 3 months before I asked if I could work full-time. And then through that, just worked hard to, achieve my results, perform really well and have some great customer outcomes. That gave me opportunities to actually start standing up and, supporting my peers in my team, floor supporting when team leaders would be in meetings, and then that opened the door to move into a support role for new staff coming into that contact center when you would have a new group of bankers come in, and I'd be there to help them with their first day questions. Through that, lots of opportunities for secondments in that contact center, but then there was a time to move on, and I joined ANZ. Again, starting back on the phones, but I really enjoyed understanding ANZ's customers from there as well. And really my objective from joining ANZ was I want that, full-time team leader role. That's something that I really enjoyed doing in secondments, and, coming in, putting my best foot forward, learning absolutely everything that I could, and then trying to be a role model within that team, even though I was fairly new. Gave me the opportunity again to start supporting my team members, team peers, and then apply for a team leader role here at ANZ. So joined the customer care team as it was known, service based. Again, starting with new bankers, learning that service side there, and then put my hand up for an opportunity that I saw that to take on brand new bankers as their leader for the first couple of months, join them in the training room, help them with their first day of calls, start to deliver those expectations in the first few coaching sessions, and really, create that environment that I wanted to see in the contact center here, that I enjoyed with those first days of the role, and really just kind of inspire others to, put their best foot forward when they come into a new role as well, in a contact center. So yeah, that was a few years ago, and really enjoyed it, and that's kind of where I've been over the last couple of years at ANZ. And since then, I've now moved into a technical support and delivery coaching manager role. So moving away from the front line per se, but still having an impact on the way that our bankers are, interacting with customers day to day.
Fantastic. So it's amazing. You probably are not surprised by the number of people I speak to that say, I just took this job for it was just going to be a little while, or it was a casual job to start with. And then they get in there and they almost find that it totally is aligned with, number one, your skills and your strengths, but also you can see that career progression and career opportunity sort of, open up in front of you. And again,
Yeah.
it doesn't take, it's not about being the smartest person at the job. It's about really understanding the environment, learning to understand people, learning to understand customers. But actually, all of those skills are things that can take you anywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely, as you've shown. What do you love about your job?
Oh, it's people, obviously.
Yeah.
Being on the phones, but then being a team leader as well, you get such a great opportunity to to meet people, to understand who they are, what makes them tick, why they come to work, why they even get out of bed every day. There's a reason that we all come to work. It might be monetary, career growth, a challenge that you want to face, and being able to sit down and talk to people, understand why they're here. I really enjoy being able to then understand what their goals are within the contact center here at ANZ, or career overall, and how I can help partner with them to achieve those goals. Being able to draw the lines between what ANZ's objectives are, what our strategic objectives are within the contact center, and the individual's goals, and how we can link those together and work to achieve those, and creating that view of the big picture, not just that real micro day in, day out. So you can really start to see that what you're doing, right now will have a positive impact on you either next month or in 6 months or next year. Really enjoy just that interaction and seeing the success from people, and from just getting to know them really as well.
Does definitely give a buzz, doesn't it? When you when you invest in the sort of things that you're doing as a leader of people that are often just starting out in an organization, let alone in their working career for many people.
Mm.
It's really actually very rewarding when that the things you are doing are really elements that will set some of these people up for amazing careers into the future, whether it's in the contact center industry or not. It actually is that really an important and integral foundation to how they, number one, operate within the workplace, but also how they in turn impact the workplace.
Yep, and I've got
definitely gives you a buzz.
I've got that philosophy of plant the seed of the tree whose shade you'll never sit under. Do such a have such an impact on people, or help them really, to, if they grow and move into another role, if it's within the bank, say, then for myself or my team in the future, I've got a contact that I can reach out to, or I've got that trust and that faith that the best people are growing and moving into areas that is going to continue to see, our business succeed. And even sort of instilling that philosophy in my team, it's knowing that leave the place better than you found it. So when you have another group of people come through, if they report to me, or if it's years down the track and, we're long gone, that they're coming into an environment that really is, helping them succeed and grow and having such positive, outcomes for our customers.
I love that. What do you think is the most important part of being a team leader? Obviously, you've got to balance, the people component of it, but you've also got a job to deliver. So you've got this business side that you're, doing on behalf of ANZ. What do you think the most important part of being a team leader is?
For me, the most important part is having or building trust between, myself and my staff. I think all relationships are built on trust. So being able to know that my staff trust me and what I'm, coaching them on or having conversations with, is the right thing, for myself to have trust that they can do what they need to do, without, needing to check in on them all the time, being able to understand that there is sort of the flow of things. I can't control everything, but being flexible and agile is also really, really important. There isn't a one size fits all approach when it comes to, people leadership, be that just interactions day to day, if it's coaching sessions, one-on-one performance managements, people respond in different ways, and being really flexible to understand what role I need to play for them, to obviously feel comfortable to succeed, to open up and have that trust in me is really important. And yeah, I guess on the back of that, the one size doesn't fit all. It's the same thing for, people's priorities in life aren't the same. So work might not be the number one priority for them, but there is still a reason. Like I've said this before, that they come to work. So being able to understand what that is, to really join our partnership, our relationship together to make sure that we're both enjoying, our interactions each day and enjoying coming to work for each other.
No, I like that, and I think you've commented a couple of times now on really understanding the currency of the people that you're leading,
Mm.
and it comes down to really getting to know your people intensely, and if you can do that right, it helps you adjust and navigate. Those other parts of the role that you have to deliver. So some of those things that are just it's the machine of what you're delivering in a contact center, but actually it's about them being able to tailor how it is you do it so that you're connecting, sort of on the right level with people that you're leading. So it matters, and
Yep.
building a sense of purpose,
Yep.
incredibly important. So I love how you've talked there about, giving them a sense and an understanding of that bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
What is it we're here for? How do we connect? What are those dots that you're joining? There is nothing worse than people who think their role is about a transaction
Mm-hmm.
or one very small cog. I'm just you hear that all the time. I just work in a contact center, or I just take calls.
Yep.
In fact, the importance of the role they play, it actually comes down to them understanding where it fits and how it contributes. So I love how you weave that into it. If you think about all of that stuff you've talked about, obviously, there's a whole lot of things that go into being a successful team leader. What
Yep.
would you say your biggest strengths are, or the most important skills to be able to do all of these different things? Because you've got to lead people and you've got to manage the work, right? So
Yeah.
what do you think the biggest strengths are that you bring to the table?
For myself, it's I go back to people. I think that's obviously
Yeah.
why I'm in a team leader role, but also being able to have honest discussions. I feel like one of my strengths is I don't beat around the bush necessarily when there is something that we need to achieve. Setting that expectation really clearly from the start. Thinking back to when I was leading brand new staff members, I was so strong with setting those initial expectations when they'd come into the role, and they weren't anything that were unreasonable. And I asked that as well to make sure that I wasn't being unreasonable. It was something as, it was as simple as, being present, being here and understanding sort of how your, actions cause reactions, be it within the customer or your peers or the team as a whole, being open to learning and asking questions, making sure that, it's okay if you get things wrong, especially when you're brand new. You're not going to get everything right. And then finally is to have fun. Because in a contact center, maybe that's why I haven't left. I have so much fun in a contact center environment. There is something so rewarding about, the challenge that comes with, if it's meeting customer demands, if there's, stats to meet, ASA, things like that, or even just banding together as a team when there are, there's going to be busy periods. So setting those expectations is something that I find I do really well, and being really clear on what you will experience here in a contact center, and then linking that to a vision. I find probably over the last year or so, I've realized that's something that I can do really well, is looking at that big picture. If it's setting a goal that we're all going to achieve as a team in 3 months' time, if it's a goal that we're going to set between yourself and me as a staff member within the next month, like let's, put ourselves in that spot in a month's time or 3 months' time and imagine what we're doing, what we're feeling, and then how are we actually starting that right now with the actions. If it's, changing the way that we provide a solution to a customer, if it's changing the way that maybe we interact in a huddle with our peers, or even just setting goals. You might see that success in the future looks and feels like this. So this is something that we can start implementing at the moment. So yeah, setting expectations and vision setting for myself.
I love that. I think there's a lot to be said for the power that actually having something you're aiming towards and heading towards. That it's really powerful when it comes to motivation. But it also gives you some really clear things to be checking in on. How are we going, on our journey towards X? What are
Yep.
those small goals that we're setting along the way? So it really sets you up for those purposeful conversations with your team. I'm
Yep.
imagining as you continue to head towards it. So if you think about, some of what you've talked about was about taking opportunity and being in a place where you thought, actually, not only am I enjoying what I'm doing, but I can see there's opportunity here.
Mhm.
What do you look for? You're working with people that are just starting out. What do you look for? What's that X factor that you look for when it comes to people standing out for, some of those opportunities that you're now in a position to offer?
Mhm.
I always say no to an opportunity, right? You never know where it's going to take you.
Yep.
But what is it that you look for when you're thinking of, filling a short-term secondment, or you've got some, small sort of little project you might be able to give to some? What do you look for in someone?
Yeah, curiosity is the first word
Love
that
that.
comes to
My
mind.
favorite word, Liam.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love that.
Um, you know, it's being curious also leads to, well, it comes from being okay with being vulnerable. Putting up your hand to say, I don't understand this, or could you tell me more about what you're talking about? You know, when we think about contact center, that's almost the first point of the call when customers are calling through. We're asking them, can you tell me more? Or, can I ask a few more questions to understand your need? But that even, curiosity and vulnerability in the way that you interact with people, or myself as your leader, or just other people around the office, is really important, because you can see that when you're being curious and you're asking questions, you've got that intent. There's a reason why that you're asking those sorts of questions, and it shows that an individual is engaged in the role or engaged in the environment, and they want to learn more and do well. So having that curiosity, I think, really lends to success in a role. Um, you're more likely to probably buy in, or participate when you understand why you're participating. So for new people, I don't really care about previous experience or skill. If you've worked in a contact center before or not, that can obviously be dependent on the environment. But for myself, it's, if you're curious, then you're going to be able to have an awesome conversation with a customer. You're going to want to understand the process that you're needing to complete more thoroughly. You're going to look for ways that you can do things better, more efficiently. If we talk about, handle time or customer experience on the phone, and then also just being curious about what options are there for yourself as an individual into the future with your own career growth. That curiosity is really the core of what I feel I look for in staff members.
I love it. It also can, really contributes to, looking at doing things differently as well, which we all love. And, the worst thing I do sometimes hear is from leaders who find that distracting. They're not seeing it as a positive. And I'm like, you should want the people that says, why do we do this? Or how can we do
Yeah.
it differently? I said, they're the ones that are going to constantly help you look for better ways for your customer interactions, but equally, they're invested,
Hmm.
they've bought into it. And the worst thing you can possibly do is try and shut that down and focus on the people that are just the easy ones. Sometimes they see those questions as a bit of a squeaky wheel, and it can be. And when I say distracting, I think from a leader's perspective, they sometimes look at it as taking their time. We're all busy and all of this, but for me, they're the things that actually are worth stopping the busy
Yes.
for. They're the
Yep.
things worth, going,
It's
oh, that's really interesting. Why do you think that? Really trying to get underneath it. It's really cool.
and a great analogy is like bamboo, the way bamboo grows. They spend so long sinking their roots down into the ground before the bamboo actually finally shoots up. And if you think about, that curiosity and asking the questions, they're really sinking their roots in. They've got a deep understanding of, the environment that they're working in, and what they're doing to then just shoot up and become, a superstar, really. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So if you think about, you've been in a leadership role for a while. I'm guessing it isn't always easy. So it isn't always people that are super motivated. They're desperately trying to learn. They want to do better. Sometimes in our environments, we have people that, rightly or wrongly, probably shouldn't be in the jobs they're in, or they've been there too long. So they can
Mhm.
have that, I guess, disengagement. And sometimes the challenge is, how do I support them through some of this versus actually we've got to get down to the business, and really think about, how do you drive performance? So how do you balance when you step in to support versus actually getting in there and really sort of driving performance? Because they're two quite different approaches.
They are.
They intertwine, but they've got some different elements to it. So if you think about how you operate, are there things you do that, kind of mean you set that up quite well from the start, or is it quite a distinctive, different set of actions that you would take?
Yeah, when I think about it, it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm shifting states, but
Yeah.
in the way that I'm, interacting with staff members when performance management starts to come into the picture. That's been through trial and error. I can think back to early days where it did feel that way, that I would be very supportive and coaching, and then you would get the end of month results and pick up a trend and go, oh, maybe we need to sort of move into a different type of discussion, and it would feel really jarring. And it didn't feel comfortable. You can see that, the individual was confused, maybe taken aback. It was a bit of a shock. So through that, I think it's communication. It's being open and honest throughout the entire journey from the start. You can't sort of think that I'm going to start doing it right now when it's already been weeks or months of continued, if it's non-performance or poor behaviours. It comes back to setting expectations at the start, being really clear on what I need from you day to day, week to week, and understanding what they need from me. So we're feeling like we're moving on this journey together. When it, if it does occur that somebody, if we go for, say, performance based, they're not hitting their stats. There hasn't been a lot of movement post a few coaching sessions. Maybe I've increased the amount of side by sides I was doing. If it's remote listening to provide feedback in a written style, giving that type of support, and I'm seeing that there hasn't been that sort of shift from the banker. It's very easy to be able to tell if it's from a lack of skill or a lack of will. If can they not do it, or do they not want to do it? And so throughout those conversations, it's also setting the expectation of what the next step is. All right, we're setting goals around if it's increasing from A to B, but we haven't seen that in the last couple of weeks. Do we need to bring in, a bit more of a formal coaching plan that lists out where we need to be at the end of a 2 or 3 month period, and the steps and the check-in points that we're going to do from there? And if we're not able to see, that type of performance by the end, we might need to, involve employee relations and have a bit more of an actual formal discussion. So it doesn't feel like it's a surprise to bankers. They know what those next steps are. And the discussions are never easy. I find myself more challenged by the behavioural performance discussions, where we need to move into formal discussions, be it around, if it's attendance or interacting with other people, code of conduct style conversations. But at the end of the day, in a team leader role, you're there for your team, but you're also there for the business success and performance. So, we're wanting to make sure that we're setting the bar of what's, expected but accepted as well. And if we're, turning a blind eye or choosing to maybe move slowly on things, that can start to really, impact the other people in the organisation.
I love that. There's actually a few things you've said there that I just want to touch on a little bit. I think, the point you made about, I would call it leadership maturity. And I mean that because you can reflect and look back to, a year ago or however long ago, and you think actually it was quite separate then. I did a distinctly different thing at parts of those conversations. But if you think about where you are now, and leadership's like a muscle, right? You've got to keep working it. You've got to flex it. You've got to practice. And you've also got to find yourself in leadership. You've got to work out actually what works for someone else isn't necessarily going to work for you. So there's lots of, trial and error along the way. And I would always say, the best advice to any leader is fail fast, right? Fail fast and move to the next. I tried that, but be very be very deliberate about what you're actually trying. So I'm actually going to do these three things. I'm going to see this is what I expect the outcome to be. But if it isn't, this is what I'll then do. So it's really sort of comes down to that planning. But it's nice when you can actually reflect on, looking back and you think, actually, I have come a long way. I do
Yeah.
that differently now. I do actually integrate a coaching style across all of the actions I take with my team, because actually, as you say, that's what leads to no surprises. So
Yep.
I think that's, it's a really effective, but it's also a very considered way. It means your team know what they are going to get from you. So that whole no surprises philosophy is not just good for how it impacts the team, but it also sets you up for, you've got this, people know your leadership style. They know what
Mm.
to expect from you. They know how you operate. But also it's kind of easy because it's really authentic when it's just kind of you delivering in line with what you've committed to. And that continues to build your brand as an authentic and honest leader, which clearly, because you've used the word honesty and things like that throughout our conversation. So clearly that stuff matters to you as well. And
Yeah, it does.
yeah, so I really like that. But again, I think it's important to recognize for anyone listening that even someone who is a experienced, clearly a great leader, you won our big team leader of the year award. It doesn't mean these conversations are always easy. It
Mm.
doesn't mean that you don't sort of think, oh God, I've got to have that conversation. It doesn't, just because you've been leading for a long time and just because you're good at what you do, doesn't make some of those things any easier. But the key is actually how do you prepare for them, and making sure you do them anyway. Sitting in that uncomfortable space actually, again, helps you get better at it every time. So when you think about walking into those conversations, Liam, feeling prepared, feeling ready to have those hard conversations, even now as an experienced leader, what is it that you do? What are those steps you take that make sure, number one, you're ready for it, but equally, you've actually got your mind open to learn from it, because you've
Mhm.
just told us that, every time you do it, you learn something. So what do you do?
Yeah, and like you were saying before, it's one of those skills that you almost you feel like you don't want to learn because you need to get that experience to be able to start feeling confident in yourself going into those discussions. I can remember back when, in one of the earlier sort of formal discussions that I needed to have with a staff member around their behaviors, I was dreading it. And I had that thought to myself before the session of, the only way that you're going to feel comfortable with a conversation like this is by experiencing it, by heading into that room and understanding the way the conversation will unfold. So that falls into my mindset even now. If I need to have a formal discussion, be it performance or behavioral, being able to go in there. It's an emotional session, and we are emotionally attached to our staff. We want the best for them. We want them to be happy. We want them to enjoy work. Even if maybe there's been periods where they haven't been, or there's been some incidents. But going into those sessions and trying to remove the emotion, I think is really important. Still coming from a place of care, and we want to get to a result or an outcome that's I think I forgot the word, that it's good for the both of us, for lack of a better word. We're not going in there for the worst outcome, but trying to move away from that emotional and just being really clear on, here's what the expectations are from the organization. Here's the expectations that we've set, as a leader and a employee. Here's where you are currently, not meeting those expectations, and here's what we need to see at the end for us to feel comfortable that you are, and being really deliberate with the language that you're using, but giving an opportunity for the other person to respond when you're thinking about formal performance meetings, and understanding where the roadblocks are with them, if there's anything that hasn't been addressed beforehand. Going back to the earlier question, I feel like if we're at that really formal period, there shouldn't be any surprises either from myself to my staff member or my staff member to myself. And if there are, then it goes even back further, is that the trust wasn't there between one party to share that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. I don't know about you, but I can still remember performance conversations when I've, you know, all those years ago when I first started out. I can still remember the ones that were done really poorly. And I think, if I think about what influenced me throughout my different leadership roles, often it was how other leaders had operated or had made me feel. And my absolute intention to be different than some of those. And I think we often say that you learn just as much from a leader who's not so great as you can learn from a great leader.
Yep.
If you think about the different leaders that you've had, what do you think they've taught you that has contributed to your leadership style? So if you could call out a couple of important things that you've learned off other leaders or that you've taken away from other leaders
Yep.
that have actually helped shape the way you lead.
The one thing that has stuck with me from a leader at my previous job, he said, nobody comes to work to do a bad job. And when he'd said that to me, I was really only, I guess, the infancy of a leadership journey, and that really stuck with me because I thought about myself. I don't come to work to do a bad job. I want to succeed and do well. And when I took that thought and put it on, other people that I work with, they were peers at the time, and understand this is what I come back to, why they come to work, what they want to achieve. It feels like if there is poor performance or poor behaviors from an individual, that's been a prolonged period of failings, and it's not necessarily solely on them. So understanding that and having the earliest opportunity to intervene or have a discussion with somebody has been really powerful as a bit of guidance. There's probably some other things that I can think of that other people have told me. As a leader, I think really, if we want to go bread and butter, it's keep everything documented. I learned that early days and maybe didn't quite agree with it. I thought, yep, I'm really good at how I'm, doing my work, and I know everything that's going on in meetings and one-on-ones. But it's when suddenly there might be a need to pull that documentation, and it wasn't there. I learned that pretty quickly from a leader to say, even if it's a quick little sort of, here's what we spoke about, you might have templates that you're filling out, within the contact center as it is, but making sure that you got everything at beck and call, because that will help you not only, if a conversation needs to move into a more formal side, but also just for your preparation for future sessions with an individual. If you've got a team of between sort of 12 and 15 people, it's very easy to get lost on what everybody's working on. So having that documentation, that real, clean hygiene around your formatting, your file naming and all of that sort of stuff, it just makes work really easy. And it's, helping yourself be as available as possible for your staff instead of being behind a desk trying to write everything out, in preparation for a meeting.
Definitely good advice, because generally speaking, we realize how important that is when we haven't done it and something blows up. So yes, very good advice. If I think about the flavour, I guess, that's come through all of your responses, I'm gonna take a stab at what I think your response would be here. But if you think about what are the components of team leading that have actually, what are they, and what have they taught you about your own leadership style? Everything so far that I've heard is that your focus is you are a people-centered leader. You are about your people, but equally not to the point where you actually don't push them. You drive them to be successful, which also means being great at their jobs, right? So if you think about your experience as a team leader, what do you think it's taught you about your leadership style?
Yeah, it's what's interesting about my leadership style is it isn't something I think too much about, like sort of the style that I am. I think my actions have created, a perception of who I am and what I do. Um, so, you can do countless personality tests and
Yes.
styles and things like that. And, even over the journey, it has changed. Moving from, when I was starting out, when I was helping my team and stepping up as a role model, I would rely really heavily on the data, the numbers, being really sort of analytical on, delving deep into what they could mean. But then sort of over time, I feel like I'm becoming more of a, if it's a driver, a campaigner, a real sort of champion of my people. I feel like I come back to, I said it before about wearing different hats. I don't feel like I have a specific style, but I feel like I can be really flexible in who I need to be for my people. And at the end of the day, still be, their leader, be their representative in other forums that they might not be able to have a voice or attend or what have you. So for my style, it's an enigma. It's a constantly
You're a
changing.
jack of all trades, Liam. You are.
I try to be.
I think though you've actually picked up on what I think is the key to being a great leader, and that is a deep understanding of what your people need from you. And actually, you can become whatever it is. You still have a really strong, solid, underlying foundation of who you are as a leader. The values you hold true, the way you're prepared to operate. So you know yourself and the line you don't want to cross.
Yeah.
Then you actually use that to know your people enough to adapt to what they need at different times. And I think it's interesting. You commented that if you think about yourself as an earlier leader, your style was different. Again, that's about your growth and your development and what you've continue to learn and pick up in your own leadership journey. So it would be probably more worrying if you said I'm that same leader that I was when I first had my first step up into some sort of secondment at a contact center far, far away. It would be interesting. I don't think we would be having this same conversation if that's
No.
how you thought, to be fair. But I do think truly successful leaders can totally and it's in real time. You actually see them with an audience, and whether it's one-on-one or to a group, and they pick up the micro signs and the behaviors and the blink, right? It's nanosecond behavior that you see in someone, and you move and you change and you react, and your brain is wired so well through your practice and you're flexing all of those things that you've learned. They're so close and wired in your brain pathways that you actually can pick up and shift into them at any point in time. And it's such a cool flex, I've got to say. So, I think to me, again, though, it requires you to not just know your business, but it also requires you to have that deep understanding of people, bringing them together to be able to change and adjust your style as you go, which,
Yep.
I think it's fantastic. If you think about, when you were starting out, and we're going to have people listening to this going, how can I want to be a team leader, I want to be a great team leader.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give yourself, your younger self, some advice, what would it be? If you were, just starting out, what would you tell yourself now?
Yeah, definitely take the opportunities as they come. Trust the people around you. I think there will always be that feeling, and I still have it now, of feeling like I'm not good enough. That there's someone's going to catch me out at some point. It's that imposter syndrome that I'm not ready for it as an opportunity. But if you see an opportunity and it's something that you're interested in, put your hand up for it. Talk to your leader about it, or even still, if you have a leader who's suggesting for you to put your own hand up for it, absolutely go. Give it a go. Don't sweat the small stuff. It's so easy to get really bogged down in the details sometimes, but in it's all these big sort of hype words, enjoy the ride.
But they're all true, right? The
But
reason they're still
yeah,
hype words and the reason everybody uses them is because actually, when you think about them, they resonate. They're
yeah,
real.
yeah, and it's so easy to look back with rose colored glasses, to look back at the days that were, and they were the good old days. That's when we had all this sort of fun. But what I would say to myself back then, now knowing that they were the good old days, is where you are, you can create that memory, you can create that experience for yourself, that I learnt this, or I took on this challenge, or I met so many people and was able to learn off them or have an impact on their work or their lives. And to be able to do that every day and just kind of, appreciate that is what I would say to my younger self. Well, I feel pretty young as it is, but just to understand that, take it with both hands, enjoy it, and understand that, this is your own life. It can feel very isolated at times when you're thinking about your own head, but there's so many other people who are also feeling that way. So you can have an impact on all of those people in such small ways. Enjoy it and take
I
the
love that.
opportunities. Yeah.
No, I love it. And I think you're right. I think sometimes imposter syndrome is everywhere. But, again, a leader's not going to offer you an opportunity if they don't have enough belief in you that you can deliver it. And
Mm.
sometimes you've just got to let your leader believe in you enough until you do as well. So I think that's great advice. What are you proud of when it comes to how you lead people?
What am I proud of? Not, I got to think about this answer a little bit.
And it's hard, right? Because it's hard. We are not good at talking about things we're proud of, generally speaking.
No, it's because I'm straight away going to talk about all the amazing things that my
My
team
people
have
do.
done. Yeah. I think when I think about myself and what I'm proud of, it is, I'm so proud of the the interactions that I've had with people. I think about, where there might be a challenge within the contact center. If there's a busy time, there might be high unplanned absences. It can feel hard to get everybody on board and, coming to work and understanding that, yep, it's going to be busy, but it won't be forever. But thinking back to different teams that I've led, and people are coming in, people are, if it's buckling down, if it's banding together, if it's, feeling like they can be comfortable where they are and be challenged. And at the end of the tunnel, there's the light. I'm really proud of that feeling that I get from most teams that I lead. I'm really proud of the honest discussions I get to have with people that, aren't work related. You can leave the office and, still have people, happy to give you a call and just have a chat about something that's going on, because, maybe they're not feeling, or they don't know who to turn to, and just to get a call and say, hey, just want to have a quick chat about this. I'm really proud of that. I've got lasting relationships with people, but for myself as well, it's the brand. I've really underestimated the importance of brand, or how far reaching it can be as well. Um, it feels like I'm here to do my job with my team, but to have somebody, across the business, bump into me in the office and know my name is it's a bit of a strange moment, but it's I kind of go, oh, my work has shown,
Yeah, that's really
yeah, who
good.
I am. Yeah.
Wow. I think you should be proud of all those things. I think the things you touched on first, the honesty, all of the things you listed there are really about your values.
Mm.
And, I'm not surprised that then builds brand and that people, know about you because of that. I think that's something you should be really proud of. Um, Career aspirations. Where is Liam in 3 years? 3 years is
Oh,
kind of everyone says to me, oh, 5 years, Fran. And I'm going, 5 years is a long time. And I think 12 months is too short. So slap bang in the middle. Where is Liam and what
yeah.
is he doing in 3 years' time?
Uh, I have no idea.
I love
It's
that. See that? How exciting is that, though? No idea is awesome, right?
Yeah, if you'd asked me 3 years ago where I thought I'd be, I wouldn't say I'm sitting here, having just been awarded the Auscontact award, having, moved into a coaching management position here at ANZ. I would have had no idea where I would be. But I know what I want to feel in three
Yeah.
years. I want
Yep.
to feel challenged. I want to feel, that the work that I'm doing is having an impact more widely than just my direct team.
Yep.
I think as enjoyable as people leadership is, there's almost that point where it's okay, what next is there? How can I have an impact on more people indirectly? Put in those, you're talking before about the values. I feel like I've got some good values and putting that into the work that I do, if it's creating products or processes or systems that of the way that we do things that benefits our staff, that benefits our customers. I feel like that type of work is the work that I want to be doing. But I wouldn't know what title that is. It might not even exist yet. Maybe it'll come up when it's ready.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I think that answer is perfect because actually you've already showcased through here that you're prepared to take any opportunity that comes up. Because again, that's about growth and challenging yourself and being curious. So all the things that, you called out as things that are actually important to you, that answer is the exact right answer for someone who is, happy to kind of jump and grab and develop and grow. So I think that is awesome. And Liam, I have absolutely no doubt that whatever role you're doing, whether it's 12 months or 3 years' time, you will actually make sure that those things are exactly part of what you're delivering. You will continue to have a strong focus on people, whether it's a small team or a big team or,
Mm.
organizationally, how that then transcends to others. Yeah, I think there is no doubt in my mind that there is a huge career future for you, Liam Henry.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see what is next and the bigger impact that you have on people around you. And I think for me, when I get to talk to leaders from all different organizations, um, the really exciting thing that I get to take away is knowing that leadership, the leadership strengths that are on display, across our industry and more broadly in our membership organizations, it is deep. There is deep, strong leadership that's going to continue to inspire and foster and grow future leaders,
Mm.
which I love, right? It's all about what's that impact that you can have on others. So thank you for joining me today. It has been so great to hear not just about how you think and what you're doing, but equally for me to have a sense of the impact that you must be having not just on your team but on your peers and on your leaders as well. I think you're absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to see how you continue to challenge and push yourself and where you're going to be in 12 months' time, let alone
Yeah.
3. So thanks for
Thank
joining me today. I've loved it. And I know people will love hearing about, what makes Liam tick.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to have a chat.